Welcome to This Explainer. I am absolutely thrilled to have you here today because we're tackling a universal pain point that, let's be honest, literally everyone has experienced at least once. Picture this. You're part of a team. Maybe it's for a high-stakes project at work, or perhaps a volunteer committee. You look around the room and you know there is incredible talent sitting right there. But despite all that potential, the dynamic is completely dysfunctional. It's stressful, it's awkward, and it feels like absolutely nothing is moving forward. So why does this happen? Well, the answer almost always boils down to one foundational element: trust. Today, we're going to explore why building trust is the single most important skill you can develop and exactly how consistency and your daily habits are the engine that makes it all happen. Now, before we really get into the nuts and bolts of how this works, I want you to just pause for a second. Think of a specific person in your life who you trust deeply. Not just someone you like, but someone you truly, fundamentally rely on. Got 'em? Okay, now ask yourself, what specific behaviors actually earned that trust? Did they just give a really great inspirational speech once? Probably not. It was highly likely a series of small, steady actions over time that proved their character. Keep those exact behaviors in mind because, as we'll see from our source material today, trust isn't magic. It's a very clear, highly measurable process. Okay, let's dive right into this. Here is our structural roadmap for the explainer today. First, we'll look at Section 1, the leadership illusion. Second, we're going to define what real trust actually is. Third, we'll explore the power of consistency. And finally, we'll wrap up with everyday habits for trust, giving you the practical tools you need to apply this immediately. All right, kicking things off with Section 1, the leadership illusion. Let's look at Taylor's story from our source material. Taylor joined a campus student leadership club. Everyone was super excited. There were tons of great ideas flying around during those first few meetings, and the roster was literally packed with talented people wanting to make a big impact. But very quickly, reality set in. Despite all that initial hype, the execution completely flatlined. Deadlines just slipped by without a single word. The meetings, which started out so energetic, suddenly felt incredibly tense and awkward. Teammates actually stopped volunteering their ideas altogether. Taylor observed this chaotic environment and realized something profound. The root problem wasn't a lack of talent or intelligence. The problem was that nobody in the room actually trusted that the work would get done. And psychologically, when we don't trust our environment, our cognitive load spikes. We put our walls up, we retreat, and we simply stop contributing. So Taylor decided to completely flip the script. Not by demanding everyone just work harder, but by methodically building a foundation of reliability. Taylor started doing three very specific things: sending clear, proactive updates, completing assigned tasks early, and actively supporting teammates when they were struggling. And you know what? Slowly, participation improved. The group became engaged again. Now, nothing changed overnight, but this consistency completely rebuilt the team's confidence. This proves that real leadership isn't about being in charge or just having the loudest voice. Leadership is about creating a safe, dependable environment where others feel secure enough to depend on one another. Which brings us perfectly to Section 2. Defining real trust. Here, we really need to dismantle a major myth about where trust actually comes from, especially for young professionals and emerging leaders who, quite frankly, often get this wrong. So what is the crucial point here? Well, trust is essentially a foundation. It's developed through repeated experiences and reliable character. It is absolutely not just about confidence, and it's not even just about expertise. You can literally be the smartest, most confident person in the entire room. But if you do not have reliable character, people simply will not trust you. Trust grows from reliability. It's a long-term investment, not a quick, short-term transaction. Our source material actually hits the nail on the head here. It says trust develops through repeated experiences. People watch actions more than words. And honestly, why is that? Because words are incredibly easy, right? But actions require sacrifice, discipline, and most importantly, consistency. Whether you're sitting in a classroom, navigating a brand new internship, or trying to climb the ladder at your workplace, you have to realize that people are constantly evaluating your reliability. They are watching what you actually do, not just listening to what you say you're going to do. And that leads us directly into Section 3, the power of consistency. To really understand how this works in practice, let's look at another scenario from the text. This time, focusing on a student named Marcus navigating a highly stressful group project. Now, what's really interesting here is the stark contrast between two completely different approaches to collaboration. On one hand, we have the inconsistent teammate, We all know this person. They might deliver great work one week, but then completely disappear the next. They create massive anxiety because the group never knows what to expect before a deadline. But then look at Marcus. Marcus took a totally different approach. He set reminders, he updated his teammates regularly, and he communicated early, especially when unexpected challenges popped up. The result? Classmates literally began organizing their own work around Marcus. By the end of the semester, people were specifically asking to work with him again. So why did everyone naturally gravitate toward Marcus? It's simple, really. People trust what they can predict. It's basically a golden rule of human psychology. Our brains are literally hardwired to crave predictability because it reduces our cognitive load and dramatically lowers our anxiety. Even highly talented individuals will completely lose the trust of their peers if they're unpredictable. Consistency helps others feel secure. When people know exactly how you will act and what results you will deliver, the anxiety just drops and collaboration thrives. Leaders earn their reputation not through occasional bursts of heroic effort, but through steady, predictable behavior over time. So, how do we actually become as predictable and reliable as Marcus? Let's jump right into our final section. Section 4, Everyday Habits for Trust. This is where we take all this theory and synthesize it into specific, actionable behaviors that you can start using today. And this brilliantly illustrates exactly how trust is won or lost out there in the real world through a simple formula of daily actions. It's definitely not about grand gestures. Meeting a deadline, that instantly signals dependability. It puts a deposit right into the trust bank. But missing a commitment or leaving expectations unclear, trust weakens incredibly quickly. That's a massive withdrawal. But look at that third one, admitting mistakes. You might think messing up destroys trust, but actually, owning it respectfully and transparently builds your credibility over time. It shows true integrity, proving to your team that you value the truth way more than your own ego. Let's zoom out and look at how this builds a holistic profile of a truly trustworthy leader. The text outlines core habits like arriving on time, replying to messages, and following through. But I really want to single out maintaining emotional stability. This is a massive and often totally overlooked part of consistency. A leader who remains calm under pressure, someone who doesn't take their stress out on the team, sends a powerful, magnetic signal of trustworthiness. Showing up prepared and maintaining respectful behavior regardless of your personal mood, that is the ultimate professional advantage. Look, if there is one single core thesis you take away from this entire explainer, it absolutely has to be this. Trust grows when effort becomes a habit instead of an exception. Reputation is built through patterns. When reliable behavior just becomes a seamless part of your everyday routine, your good intentions transform into real, rock-solid trust. Opportunities increase, and collaboration becomes so much easier because people know, without a shadow of a doubt, that they can depend on you. So, I want to leave you with a bit of a challenge today. Based on everything we've unpacked from the source material, I want you to take a hard look at your own patterns. What is one daily habit, just one, that you could change starting right now that would help others rely on you more confidently in your very next collaboration? Think about it. The power to build a trustworthy reputation is completely in your hands. Thank you so much for joining me for this explainer, and I absolutely can't wait for you to put these tools to work.